So context is crucial. So one of the things that Paul was doing is he's reading to when he's writing this letter is he's trying to Christians were a very small, vulnerable minority in Rome. There had also just been a very big Jewish, a few years earlier, revolution type thing that happened that really caused a lot of pain for their Jewish brothers and sisters and called them to clamp down on them. There had just been a big radical revolutionary type thing that got put out, and very violent. And so Paul knows that that's happened as well. So he is trying to say how to live in a peaceful with living in within such a powerful group of people who are occupiers. They're occupied by Rome. You know, these are people who are military and force come in and occupy this area. Christians were often under persecution. It wasn't like at this point, it wasn't a big thing where it was happening just like, oh, a bunch of Christians, but sometimes Christians just randomly would be killed or executed because of their beliefs. It would just randomly happen. And it was starting to see kind of, oh, okay, this is starting to happen over there. This is starting over here. So Paul has got people's lives. You also have to remember, Paul thinks Jesus is going to come back and take care of all this. You know, in Paul's mind at this time, Christ is going to return and all this is going to be taken care of. And he may think that Paul may think Jesus was going to come sit and run the whole world at this time. I don't think the idea of rapture was really on the table. Rapture is really only about 100 and change years old idea. So that's not what Paul's talking about. But Paul felt like, you know, we're going to win. Jesus will come back. This is what's going to happen. You know, so you have to, I know that's sometimes hard to leave because you're like, why do we believe this stuff at all if he never came back? I mean, that's a good question. I think that's a good question to ask. I think it's worth looking at. I think that's a good part of deconstruction. So Paul was writing to the Roman church under imperial rule, okay? Likely he's encouraging peace. He's trying to encourage a peaceful coexistence with these folks. You know, he's encouraging an often persecuted group living with a hostile empire. Partially too is that Paul was nonviolent. Paul did not believe in violence. Christianity for the first 300 years was nonviolent. So Paul also doesn't want people rising up in violence. And that's another part of that text. He was trying to make the powers of be calm. See, Romans was written out quite often. This is what the scholars believe, is that Romans was written out hundreds of times and passed out all over the place. And he wanted to get this to Rome. It was very important. So he knew the likelihood of it following into a Roman soldier or a Roman emperor, or any of these people could get this and see this. And so he wanted to make it clear that we are not a threat to you. Please do not kill us. And remember last week, I think it was the week before, we were talking about magical thinking and how magical thinking, I did like a 2-hour talk about magical thinking. And so often magical thinking is like, well, this book was written to these people, but it has double meaning. And we love that. We love it. But he was really knew that in America, now listen, if I had a time machine, when I do have my time machine, maybe I'll get it for my 50th. I'll go back and I'll have a conversation with the Apostle Paul. I'll figure this out and we'll just clear the whole thing up. Okay. But until then, you're going to have to just stick with what I've been doing in biblical scholarship, biblical history, within the studies. 30 years, not bad. But he was trying to make the powers of be calm. There was he's like, no need to kill Christians. We're going to pay our taxes. We're not going to rebel. We're not going to do these things. So everybody can remain calm. You know, this isn't going to happen. We're not opposing them. And so, you know, he was trying to not appear to be supporting sedation or revolutionary action, you know, he was trying to not invest or invite. He was really working to not invite unnecessary attention to the Roman church. So if I put this in there, they're going to go, oh, okay, well, these guys are going to pay their taxes. They're going to listen to us. They think we're from God. So we're good. You know, maybe we can hire some of them as tax collectors. Like, remember that guy, Matthew? Yeah. Well, whatever happened to him? So there's that. There's the other thing. But he didn't want the Jewish Christians and the Gentile Christians to be seen as a threat by Rome. So he was removing targets from their head. Okay.